out to Courtney Anderson, defense attorney. Courtney, right now, just from the outside looking in, it seems to me that the skateboarders are clear, that Jesse Schultz, the friend with the cocaine charge, is pretty much clear. Ben Foley is the one that had been to that farmhouse taking photos, artistic photos that he put on his website, where his nickname is Skulls, S-K-U-L-Z. He's the one that really needs to be looking for a death penalty defense attorney right now.
Well, I certainly think that he needs to find the absolute best legal representation that he can at this point in this case. It does not look good for him. I like the discussion, as you brought out earlier, that in this, what we understand, his investigation, that he says, yes, I was with her, maybe I had relations with her, but they were voluntary and consensual. It just does not look good at this point. He needs the best lawyer he can find, and that lawyer needs to tell him one thing. He needs to shut up. He needs to not say anything to anyone else, and he needs to allow that attorney to work with him to see what they can do to force the prosecution to prove their case.
We are waiting tonight for a Virginia grand jury to speak, to hand down a charge, or at least a charge from police in the case of Taylor Beal. Taylor's remains found about 80 miles east of Richmond. But very quickly, to tonight's case alert. The latest web of lies.
One of their sexual deviations.
Courtney Anderson, does Russell Van Camp have a case?
I'm sure he obviously thinks he does. I think, though, that we have to take a step back and understand that certainly this judge and this prosecutor did not sit there and have a crystal ball and know that this man was going to go out and allegedly commit these crimes. The question is, what happens with other people who come forward with a similar history? What kind of bond is set for them? And I'm sure this judge has the experience and did what was practical and reasonable at the time. Now, I know no one wants to hear that, but I am hurt as a taxpayer for us to think that our court system, that our criminal justice system, that our judges and our prosecutors would be out there intentionally trying to set
Nobody
free
said intentional.
Individually.
Nobody said intentional. This is negligent, if anything. And let me remind you, what do when you don't know a horse? You look at his track record. They knew the guy was a repeat sex offender. So what did they do? Let him walk straight out so he could meet up with this little girl.
No, I absolutely agree that our courts do not have the documentation. You and I both know you go to court, you don't have the file, you don't have all the information. We need to put more money into computer systems so that when people stand up
we
absolutely
system.
do.
Of
We
course
need the
you're right.
information. We need the information. Nobody wants, I don't want, you don't want, nobody wants to hear something like we've been talking about tonight. It's just disturbing. It's sick beyond words. So what can we do to arm ourselves instead of afterwards reactionarily? If this lawsuit is successful, what can it change?
Andy, you know, I know, everybody that works in the system, Andy Kahn, knows that it takes about 50 strokes of the computer to find out somebody's criminal history. It's not hard. I never went to a bond hearing. Never tried a case without knowing somebody's rap